I know people might say they could kind of dismiss it as, oh, it's a minor thing, or they could say it's just messaging. But when a governor does things that show an immediate responsiveness to the agenda of the left, not just in word, but in deed, and I'm not saying DeSantis is the only one who does this, but he is certainly at the forefront of this. You know, it's not, oh, I'll get to that. We'll have a legislative session in 12 months and it'll be packed in it. No, it's let's do something right now to show everybody what side of this issue we stand on. I think that's where we need to be. While people care and are focused on something like gas stove bans, he's saying, I'm drawing a line and taking action to show what side of the issue as a governor I'm on. I think this needs to be the model. So Governor Ron DeSantis is continuing to rack up some wins on the policy front. And I do think you see that while there's all this discussion about what his next moves could be, in the meantime, all he does is win, Clay. He actually could have that as his theme song. I'm not sure if that's actually the title of the song, but it is certainly the most famous.
DJ Khaled. It's a great song.
Yes. All Ron does is win. I think that is very fair to say from the perspective of the midterm or the re-election for him as governor. What we saw in the 2022 midterms. A monumental, a historic win there by the numbers, just looking at facts and data on that one. And then even on the policy front, for example, this is just kind of a fun one, but you know, the left was saying that they didn't. Well, first they said they wanted to ban gas stoves, and they rolled that out. It wasn't a very popular idea. I have an electric. I was going to say, you don't even cook. You don't boil water, so you don't have any opinion.
I
on
read you that angry
gas.
email I got from the one of our listeners who was furious of all the things that I've ever said on the radio show. The fact that I don't cook, that I don't boil water, the fact that I just don't do that was like beyond the pale. Every other opinion I've had in 2 years, she didn't care about. This was like the unacceptable one.
I think one of the angriest emails I ever received from a listener many years ago was for my claim that Bruce Springsteen was highly overrated. I
agree with that.
Set people off.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
There's
highly overrated.
A certain segment of Northeasterners, right? Because I would say his fan base is
I got a lot of New Jersey friends. Let's be honest. This guy was clearly from Jersey. It hit home. I get it. But, you know, you can call him the boss all you want, but really not so great. So here we go with DeSantis, who is the boss in Florida.
Yes.
And here he is on removing the sales tax on gas stoves. Play 11.
And then we just added, because I think it needs to be done, no tax permanently on gas stoves. They want your gas stove, and we're not going to let that happen. And we're not even a state. The way Florida was built, a lot of this wasn't even connected to gas lines. You got a lot of electric stuff. But it's just the principle of, you know, this is ridiculous that they do want to go after it. They got blowback, so they kind of had to back off. They want to go after the gas stoves. And so we're saying, you know, we want you to be able to buy those free of charge from the state of Florida for taxes.
I like this. I know people might say they could kind of dismiss it as, oh, it's a minor thing, or they could say it's just messaging. But when a governor does things that show an immediate responsiveness to the agenda of the left, not just in word, but in deed. And I'm not saying DeSantis is the only one who does this, but he is certainly at the forefront of this. You know, it's not, oh, I'll get to that. We'll have a legislative session in 12 months and it'll be packed in it. No, it's let's do something right now to show everybody what side of this issue we stand on. I think that's where we need to be. While people care and are focused on something like gas stove bans, he's saying, I'm drawing a line and taking action to show what side of the issue as a governor I'm on. I think this needs to be the model.
Yeah, look, what I like about DeSantis' leadership style, and I think you can go back to the battle with Disney, is a lot of people are afraid of negative news. And basically with Disney, Ron DeSantis just got into a fight with the biggest, baddest person, right, Disney, in his entire state, and he whipped Disney's ass. And then the message that sends is when you beat the baddest ass dude's ass, then not a lot of other people are going to step to you. You are sending a message, right? And so DeSantis is good about sending messages, but he's smart enough, Buck, to know the details of the message that he's sending, like with this AP history battle in Florida over Black history, right? Most people would not read the curriculum, and this is not just DeSantis, this is his staff. I'm saying this in a very favorable way. He's surrounded himself by a lot of nerds, right? Smart nerds that actually can fight. And that's a rare combo. And what they're doing is they're looking at details and they're finding out, hey, wait, we got to fight this woke ideology in schools. How do we do it? Let's look at the actual curriculum. There are details to support the decisions that he's making. And that is important. That's how you stack wins in the messaging that you're sending. Because if you'll feud with Disney and you'll send a message to the AP about what they can do with Black history in your state, then you're sending a message that is resonating in many other areas as well.
It's amazing what happens when you stand up to the bully, the perceived biggest person in the room. I was just watching the other day, Tombstone, I know people don't consider it to be one of the truly great Westerns. Fine. It's not The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's not, the some of the so-called spaghetti Westerns that became so popular. But remember that scene where Billy Bob Thornton is the card dealer and Kurt Russell walks in, and first of all he yells at him, "Skin that smoke wagon!" Like pull your gun, and he doesn't, and then he whacks him across the face. He's like, "Are you just gonna stand there and bleed?"
Yeah,
it's a good scene. It really makes the point. The bully got slapped.
If you are willing to step up to the bully, it's an old school. Everybody out there who remembers it, it's a big deal. If you step to the bully and you beat him up, that's what DeSantis did to Disney. And I think, look, I was looking what we were talking during a break. I just tweeted this headline out. I think you're starting to see a lot of wins get stacked up. This is from Bloomberg as well. The layoffs sweeping the tech industry are gutting diversity and inclusion departments. I love it.
About the ultimate, corporate excess and the sort of the fluff in the budget that you could find.
Yes.
Diversity and inclusion offices and offices. What you find, by the way, in the education bureaucracy, people wonder, where's all the money going in public education? It's going to administrators. Administrators outnumber in terms of additions, and I'm basing this off of reading I've done in years past, but something like 6 or 7 to 1, Clay. For every one teacher that is added to the average American school district over the last, I think it's 10 or 15 years, there have been 6 administrators. A lot of it is just people pushing paper around from one desk to another, doing diversity and inclusion training or whatever the case may be. And, Ron DeSantis talking about the wins we're seeing here. And we bring this up, by the way, this isn't in the context of, 2024 right now. No. This is what's happening now and what other Republican governors should also be looking to do. Let's make it about governance. We all know now, and in the post-COVID era, governors matter. If you're a red state governor with a Republican majority legislature, you got to get things done. Can't just be business as usual. You've got to look at what has been done basically wrong by Democrats in the past, set things right. On the AP curriculum controversy, it's not a controversy at all. But DeSantis, there's now laws that have been passed in Florida that don't allow for CRT in school, for example. And the Florida, as a state, rejected the the College Board that created this AP course,
AP College Board
in African American studies. What the left is saying, what the left is claiming, is, but this is a rejection. Actually, we have somebody who is saying, why don't we let's play it. Howard University professor Taylor, play 12.
So it's very anti-intellectual for anybody to try to erase certain parts of Black studies, Black culture, Black history, because they particularly don't like it or think it's controversial to them. There's a whole segment of our community that identify as Black queer. And moreover, the reparations movement and the Black Lives Matter movement are important social movements in African American life and culture, important social movements that have made important strides. So the idea that one person with a lot of power on a platform can be this critical of this particular AP exam. I did not hear about him criticizing the European history exam or even the Japanese language culture exam, just this one.
Okay, well, that's because this one included, and by the way, it has already been amended and the new curriculum is already approved. It just, the state of Florida is like, we don't want, and these are directly taken. These are modules from what was rejected. Black queer studies, post-racial racism, the case for reparations, and other such modules. That's not learning, that's indoctrination. Those are highly ideological things to be teaching high schoolers.
Yeah, it's theory. And as somebody who was a history nerd myself, who majored in history in undergrad and took a lot of these AP courses, I mean, this woman doesn't understand what she's talking about. European history tells you what happened in Europe. That's European history. Black history in AP courses can tell you what's happened in black history, but it doesn't need to have like graduate level theorizing on the role of race in America and how it's impacted the gay black experience, right? I mean, those are post-grad, very advanced courses if you want to get into them. And for anybody out there who's ever gotten into graduate school or taken graduate courses, you increasingly study less and less relevant things, frankly, the higher up the educational spectrum you move in humanities. I thought about being a history professor for a while, Buck. I think it would have been a great life. I taught creative writing at Vanderbilt. I think it would have been fun. But in history in particular, you specialize to such a degree that you end up focusing on like one day of the Battle of Gettysburg. And at some point, as much fun as I love the Battle of Gettysburg and studying it, you get so bogged down in tiny details that you miss bigger picture issues. And when you're in high school, you should be learning the bigger picture issues.
If you had to teach an entire year-long college course on one battle in all of history, would it be Gettysburg? What would it be?
Yes, it would be Gettysburg.
Gettysburg, right off the bat? See,
I think so.
I'd probably do the Battle of Lepanto, 1571.
I don't know enough about the Battle of Lepanto at all. I think you've mentioned it before. I would go Gettysburg 1. The second one, and for the military historians out there, probably the most fascinating battle from the Civil War was Chancellorsville, because of the decisions made by Lee and Stonewall Jackson and the way that he divided his army. And anyway, I could go on and on about all this. But that era, I would love to teach a course on.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe you'll just do a long podcast series and put it in the Clay and Buck feed there, Mr.
Civil
Clay
War
Travis.
podcast series would probably do pretty well.
Just throwing it out there.